Got my potato goulash cooking for the morning. Oh my. Got a cup of coffee to drink and a bunch of water to drink. All right, give me 1 second. This could be more interesting. It would be great to do an instance. I should be able to. I got my retainer in currently. Um, Shut up, turd. Watch me level has to be the most boring thing you could possibly do. I think it was quicker for me to level from 60 to 70. Now that I think about it, pretty sure it was. Damn it. Oh man, this is lame. So I got to eat a bowl of cereal that consists of about 1,200 calories. So I probably need to split it into two meals and eat all of my potatoes and stuff. It seems like I hate talking with this goddamn retainer. It seems like the thighs have so much more fat though. Is it really only that many calories? It seems like a like way more grease and stuff on them. For it to only be a few more calories. I know they have skin on them too, and those have that has fat too. But I don't know. This sucks because that double pull there. Oh, there's one there. have to pull all this extra shit. How is that possible? Huh. Cool. Yeah, I keep seeing this ore thing. Now, I looked at it before, and I don't necessarily know what it does. Does it solve any problem, or is it just like a gambling thing? Does it like, is there some reason for it, other than it's fun to play? Question mark guy? Question mark guy. You mean the Riddler? Question mark guy. The non-copyright infringing Batman. Right. Question mark guy. Right. Just didn't know my idiot brother's sense of humor. This type of shit. Question mark guy. It's a type of humor. The Riddler? Yeah, question mark guy. My favorite kind of joke like that though is fucking from the Tick, dude. The Manuela mobile, the goddamn Batmanuel, the Mexican Batman. And he drove instead of the Batmobile, he drove the Manuel mobile. That show was too funny. Patrick Warburton. And God, who else was on that show? Uh, Fox had a tendency of having like these like super awesome shows and just fumbling. Like I think at the end of the day, it's because The Simpsons was such a high rated show that like whatever all their other stuff, but everybody knows about Arrested Development. And The Tick was another one. Uh, Andy Richter Controls the Universe is pretty funny too. Was that Andy? Andy Richter, right? Andy Richter Controls the Universe was a good one. Who the fuck said that? Right? Thad, or what was his brother's names on Arrested Development? That's a Tony Danza joke. Like, you can't yell Tony Danza in a crowded theater unless you're Tony Danza. But the joke is like Tony Danza. Everybody knows the joke is because he's famous enough for it to be like Carl Weathers, right? The Carl Weathers dichotomy from or whatever, not dichotomy, dilemma, whatever you want to call it. The celebrity everybody recognizes but doesn't work as much anymore as they used to. which isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal, to retire from shit? Only politicians and actors are the only people that don't try to retire. Oh, and 100-year-old door greeters at Walmart for some reason. Holocaust survivors working the goddamn turnstile at Walmart. Oh, how the tables have turned, right? Like, shouldn't you retire yet? Grandma's grandma, super grandma, grandma squared. No, but the Tony Danza joke is like you go out to eat with Tony Danza and he yells, "Holy shit, isn't that Tony Danza?" You're like, so other people like, and he puts his head down, hey, and actually keeps trying not to be noticed and stuff. Isn't that Tony Danza? And he's like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, these people won't leave me alone. That's similar to the Carl Weathers joke from Arrested Development, so I can't say it's entirely fresh or new, but it is, I think it's kind of funny. Maybe ask Tony what he thinks. He's not busy. What do you think about it, Tony Danza? Well, I thought, not you, Andy. All these people live in my head, right? Can't you believe it's not really Andy Richter voiceover company? But it is something to think about. Like, what let's say lesson learned from watching Oh Brother Art Thou was that remember there was only four of them, but they got paid 5 times because one of them provided a signature on something, just signed their name for an extra paycheck or something, right? So I guess that works in real life too, kind of. If you're Andy Richter, but isn't there always supposed to be like there's George Bush Jr., right? And then there's Jeb Bush, and then there's like Mystery Bush, which is probably just either one of them with like a fake mustache or Harpo Marx glasses on, right? And like that's the one that writes all the bad checks, and that's the one who like has a bunch of payday loans. Right. It's like Marvin Pierce Bush, who is not president for some reason ever. Yeah, he's the one who took out all these Silverado savings and loan things and did all this, did all this other stuff, right? He's the one that did all this stuff, right? Why can't we find him anywhere ever? He's never even publicly photographed. He's like Bigfoot, pretty much. I had one of these friends of mine I met online that was an internet journalist, right? He really was though. Like he was one of the guys that like got framed in the late '80s and early '90s trying to investigate Iran Contra and all that stuff. How do I find myself with these people? Like I was like 18 or 19 years old talking to these guys, trying to find people, trying to get to the bottom of shit. I really was. I was like 18 or 19 years old. I was calling these guys up that were part of the Iran Contra investigations and like trying to get to the bottom of the shit myself. I swear to God, I was like, I've got to know more about this stuff. I found one of these guys online that gave testimony at the during Iran Contra and all that stuff, and ended up being pretty good friends with the guy actually, right? How funny is that? A strange kid I was, right? Like I'm gonna get to the bottom of this fucking Iran Contra thing one of these days. Was my mindset, and I really did though. In my mind, I fucking got the answers. I fucking so like when I say things like I don't know for sure, but it is like, oh, and then I said that the shit about yeah, he was the guy that said the CIA wiped his hard drives. Sure as shit was. And, or the NSA, one of the other, it wasn't AI, I know that much at that time. But the, uh, the thing was, yeah, no, that was the guy that said the CIA wiped his hard drive and shit after we talked. That was years later, but I was talking to the guy forever, been in touch with him for a while. But he was one of the guys that he was one of the people that investigated the Bush family for their Silverado savings and loan scandal that people forget about. I guess was something to do with like they were funneling money through HUD in Colorado, and they were building like all these apartments that didn't exist and shit or whatever. And this group's called Silverado Savings and Loan, which is like a front company for like a whole bunch of this stuff. He was one of the guys that like apparently like cracked the case on the thing, but it was like right there in the time period between Bush Jr. or Bush Sr. and Bush Jr.'s presidency. So like during the Clinton era. So like either the investigation started and then got swept under the rug after Bush Jr. took office again, right? Or you know, for his first term, right? And then all the 9/11 shit happened, and like everybody got preoccupied with fighting terrorists and everything. But he was in prison as a political prisoner in what place was that? Somewhere in Missouri, actually. There's an ADX prison in Missouri that's a federal prison for like cannibals and supervillains and stuff. And when they when he had ruffled too many feathers investigating the Iran Contra thing, he got framed for something and ended up serving time with a whole bunch of like all these guys that Ollie North had burned during the Iran Contra affair and everything after the fact. And he launched his own investigatory campaign into some of these people himself, right? And ended up uncovering a whole lot of fraud and a whole lot of like government doing shit that the government shouldn't. And god damn it. But sometimes like you find yourself not to like find yourself behind bars. It's like what'd you do? Like make enemies with the wrong person. Some people, not everybody, but some people like legitimately. Oh, I just made enemies with the wrong person. Um, it happens. So whatever. Anyway, yeah, and I was like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this fucking Iran Contra thing one of these days. Like, I'm gonna get the answer straight from the chicken's mouth or whatever. And he told me a whole lot of interesting things, man. The guy's super. I'd give you his name. His name is Stu Webb. He's got like a public website and all that stuff. You can go check him out. One of the few guys that I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not making the shit up. Like he's gonna have answers to shit. Like he really did get framed and sent to federal prison for something, for his basically his role in investigating or trying to uncover some of the shit about Iran Contra and like the Sandinistas and all this stuff. I'm like, I wish I knew more about it specifically, but what it is exactly that he apparently uncovered with that. But probably yeah, was a real young go-getter. But yeah, that's the thing is like, if that type of thing doesn't get the CIA's attention when you have like a 19-year-old kid or 18 years old or whatever poking around trying to get to the bottom of things, like someone sent me there, like right, almost like your dad wanted you to try. Right, almost. It does kind of almost like your dad sent you there to pick up some slack or something. Right. We do the bottom of this fucking thing. I have some questions that I can't ask, kind of thing, right? It is about what it was too, wasn't it? It's pretty funny. Now I think about it. I guess it's a little different than working at your dad's used car lot, but nonetheless, right? Get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this once and for all. Yeah, and then like not shortly thereafter, but a few years later, though, the CIA guys really did start showing up in life and everything. Not like I've never actually like shaken hands with the CIA agents or anything of these, but they like people that were CIA. Like he's dead now, but what's his name? I always say Christopher Steele, but it's Robert Steele was one of the guys that like showed up like after I told you I called these people's radio show. I've been in correspondence with one of the guys for a while that investigated all the Iran Contra stuff. Then years later, I touch base with them again. They say the CIA wiped their hard drives, and then like 2 months later, I start working with John McAfee of all people, who never claimed to be a CIA guy or agent, but like always hinted at, he's connected to the CIA in some way, shape, or form. I can imagine why somebody that had wrote a piece of software that would give any government agency backdoor access to what files are on your computer, why that might be of interest to the CIA, right? Like, I don't think they ever gave him a paycheck for it, but and then the actual CIA guys started showing up shortly thereafter that. God damn it. Oh, this is Gortusk. He's like a mini boss. God damn it. Yeah, I'm just a young up and coming Morty, and my dad sent me here. My Rick sent me here to try and figure out some more stuff about this Iran Contra thing. If you could, please return the phone call. Thanks. That's about what it amounted to. But yeah, he was an interesting guy. So I've always had that just like uh, dog with side blinders on determination when it came to like getting answers to things, even if it fucking killed me sometimes, right? I'm like, I have to know. And that was one of those instances where like when something gets me to the point where I like so intrigued to the point where I like, oh, all my worry, all my doubt, all my fear, all my anxiety, all my panic and stress, I throw it in the garbage to do something. Like it is so few and far between that anything is that compelling to me to do that kind of thing, because I'm normally just like I really stick to my own lane. I don't like bothering people. Like for me to pick up a goddamn phone and talk to a stranger is like maybe ever happened only on 2 or 3 occasions in my entire life. So for me to do that kind of thing is like it takes something different for sure. Oh yeah, well my Rick sent me here to try and figure out more about Iran Contra and what Ollie North did. And then another Rick shows up. I was just a young up and coming Morty at the time, but I think I'm almost Rick status. Almost, I think so, man. If not, I have to be a little bit older. If so, man, I'm the first. I'm the first Rick ever. Well, the first Morty evolved into Rick. I still have some learning to do, but yeah. So in a lot of ways, though, like I know people give L. Ron Hubbard shit, but like at the very end of the day, disagree with any of the religious stuff. I mean, the guy did try to help a lot of people, and he was super interesting, right? So I've always kind of modeled myself after that. The only thing is, I'm not trying to be like entirely full of shit about aliens and volcanoes, and I'm not gonna sit there and claim that I worked on a nuclear submarine when I didn't, or whatever the thing was. But Hunter S. Thompson and guys like other guys like that, man. Oh fuck, that's the same thing. I just died to that thing a minute ago. I try to be as interesting as those guys. I'm trying, you know. And in all honesty, really, it's not like, oh, I need to be one of these guys. I'm so interested in the shit that they're interested in that I can't seem to pry myself away from it. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not helpful for me to be that way. Really, sometimes it's like dangerous and stupid and costly and expensive and dangerous. Emphasis on the dangerous part. Sometimes the shit like getting involved with people like this is not always a great idea, but I'm always there with like an honest intent, and I'm really just looking for answers. And you know, some of these guys that are involved in that kind of shit, like they do get older, and they do kind of like go, well, you know, we couldn't necessarily discuss any of this shit like in the 70s and 80s, or even the early 90s would have been a problem. But all these years have passed, things have kind of died down, and then you get someone that's inquisitive, asking questions about like, because I was wanting to know about the Bush family and stuff too. I was like super curious as to what like the Bohemian Grove stuff was about, and I was trying to get to the bottom of like the claims of sacrificial human sacrifice or child sacrifice and all that stuff, because I was like 18 years old and the government came down on me in a way that I've never seen anything like it before, and I'm sitting there thinking like there is something satanic behind the way these people are treating me, right? So I was like, if they go around like kidnapping and hurting little kids, I'm like, I was fucking like quite literally, like 6 months ago, I was 17 years old, you know, and I had no reason to be treated that way, and I felt like there was something just like real demonic about it, and the way that I was just like, they were like handing me paper, telling me to sign confessions, that, like I was not even clothed in my garage, and these police officers were interrogating me and telling me they were gonna haul my parents off to prison if I didn't confess to, and I'm like, hold the phone, you know, like whatever I have to do to keep my parents out of prison, right? I'm like, they're both sick, you know, like they're not in wheelchairs, but my dad has to use a walking stick at some point in time, and my mom is like bedridden, you know, and I'm like trying to, they're threatening to haul these people off, you know, they're holding my parents at gunpoint in our living room, and they're interrogating me, and I'm like, okay, I did it then. Let's just get out of this, right? And then I'm like, and then years later, like shortly thereafter, and like no matter what I said, it was like I was like speaking a different language to these people. Like they were just like, I'm like, you guys are fucking like demons, basically dealing with demons, like real demons, like from Satan people. And like no matter what I say, that's not what you hear. Like I'm not speaking a fucking foreign language to you people. Why can't you comprehend the words that I'm using, right? Like I keep telling you these things over and over again, and they're like, well, that's not what happened. That's not what this is. And it's almost like I could sit there and watch a switch flip in them that suddenly, like, common sense, reason, rationale, like, went out the window. I'm like, we can't even agree that the sky is blue, to that point. I'm like, I was so wrong to these people that no matter how much sense that I made, I was still in the wrong, and I'm like, I'm not even trying to get, like, I'm not trying to get preferential treatment. I'm just trying to get a fair shake here. And if you guys can't necessarily show compassion for somebody on their, like, basically their 18th birthday, mind you, you were the one that kicked down my door, said it was unlocked, questionable warrant in hand. This is the first time they did this shit to me. Drag me in the garage naked, interrogate me, tell me that I have to confess to something that I don't know the ramifications of, or you're going to haul both of my parents off to jail. I say prison because I didn't know the difference, what that was. I didn't know jail was something that you got out of, prison as well. But the bonding process and shit was things I wasn't familiar with. So I'm like, that day I'm sitting there thinking my parents are going to go away for good or forever, and I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, well, and when I tried to explain this to any of these people in the process, they're like, we're not trying to hear that. You know what you did. I'm like, wait, so you're not trying to hear my side of what happened? No, no, no. You know what you did. I'm like, you weren't even there. Yeah, but we know. I'm like, and what is that exactly? Oh, you know. I'm like, this was the type of talk around that I got with these people. And I'm like, I can't fucking win here. I was given so many contradicting things that like one court person would sit there and tell me I had to do this, and then the other person would tell me I didn't. So either way, I was fucked, and that's what ultimately got me sent to prison. Was that I could not comply with contradicting and conflicting orders, and like I had no choice. Like I don't know what you want me to do. Quite literally, just throw my hands up. Didn't give up or anything, but I was like, yeah, I'm like, this is evil. This is satanic. These are demons. These people are stupid. Or don't give them an excuse, really. Uh, and I thought, like, well, if I had to guess, the same people that would do that kind of thing to me for no fucking reason whatsoever are trying to cover up for something that they were doing. To come down on me like that, dude, I can't imagine why. You know what I mean? So, just this blind hatred, bigotry, ignorance, just discrimination, just like trying to deal with fucking actual demons is what it was like. And I'm like, for you guys to drag me out of my room, like I just turned 18, and to make this into what you guys did, and like I said, the government likes to use like extra force in the theater, so that way like they say, well, if that much force is justified, the person must be guilty. You know what I mean? Instead of just like something that a simple phone call would have resolved, right? So I wanted to get to the bottom of the thing, and I'm like, if they're kidnapping and murdering children somewhere, uh, they were one step closer to doing that to me. You know what I mean? One step closer than I'm comfortable with for anyone, much less myself, right? So I'm like, I'm going to figure out some of this shit. I'm going to get to the bottom of this shit eventually, really. And I can't say I've made it my life's mission, but I've made it a good portion of what it is that I do and why I do it is to try and figure out why, like why me specifically. Because seemingly just normal individual, not bothering anybody. Yeah, so I have always taken an interest to people that were like Stu, that had similar stories to mine, that were like, I just don't know how I ruffled anybody's feathers. I mean, I might have or something when I was younger doing some stuff that might have gotten some of these guys in trouble involving like computer hacking and stuff, but other than that, I can't imagine why any of these people would have such an interest in me to the point where like like locally, I used to have a website where I would find these guys and stuff, teachers in school and stuff, and I would write papers or articles about them and put them on my website for anonymously, and then like basically calling out teachers for acting like creeps and stuff towards like fellow classmates and stuff. Um, some other stuff I'm not necessarily going to get into about computer hacking and all that stuff at this point, but I can't imagine, other than those few things there, why it is that they would have chosen me to try and just fucking come down on me like that. But yeah, that might be the reason. Yeah, I don't know for sure though. It seems like I was off their radar, like just not bothering anybody, minding my own business. And yeah, turns out they didn't like me for some reason. But I thought it comes from somewhere, I don't know where, but yeah, these people were just state employee demons, man. I tell you, they were the worst of the worst kind of people. Like, you can't sit there and be compassionate towards me or anything. These people railroaded me, and then everybody that did it retired shortly thereafter. Not like Tony Danza either. Like, they campaigned on my fucking downfall. Like, the prosecuting attorneys, the investigatory officers, all that, the public defenders, all quit, got fired, or left and retired. Like, in the midst of all this shit, like, all fucking just railroaded me and left. Like, if that doesn't sound right. No, but yeah, they fucking did. That's exactly what they did. You know, I mean, it doesn't sound right as in the fact that, like, why would they do that? Yeah, I don't know. But I felt like, I mean, in all honesty, I was like basically being sacrificed in some way, shape, or form for something evil. And I had a problem with it, obviously, right? Because there was just no reasoning with these fucking people. There was no reasoning. There was like words, fucking just nothing I can say. Like, why do I even speak then, right? And it got to that point, you know, like, why do I even talk? You sit there and then they would like tell me what I did, which wasn't true, and they would hook me up to a polygraph machine and tell me if I didn't confess to what the polygraph machine says that I did, that I would go to prison, and I did. And I said, okay, you have to send me to prison. I said, because I'm not going to sit here and admit to something that didn't happen to, I'm not doing this shit. This is satanic. I have nothing to do with it. I said, send me to prison. I was like 19 years old, 19 or 20, and that's when I was getting all involved with these other guys. Because I'm like, they have similar stories, how they got fucked over and stuff, and I don't know where I ruffled the feathers at to initiate this entire process, but yeah, so that's kind of a basic rundown of some of the shit that's happened in my life, right? But yeah, I know I was seeking answers for why and what they did to me specifically, and I'm like, well, you're not convincing me that the same people aren't involved, you know, and I don't necessarily have names or anything, but whatever type of people orchestrated this sort of thing against me certainly didn't like what I was uncovering, at least at some point in time during my life, and they stood to make an example of me. And what a better way to do it than, you know, kind of thing. And they threw all rationale out the window, man. They threw all reason out the window. They threw the judge's orders in the goddamn trash can, you know, and then the prosecuting attorney wrote my stipulations, and the judge said, those aren't his stipulations, these are his stipulations. And then they said, fuck you, basically. I had to do this shit anyway. Like, because I couldn't get the lawyer to have the judge amend the orders, and I've been fighting this in some form or another for the last like 20 years because of this. Really, I've had lawyers all take payments from me, tell me they're going to get it amended and fixed, and then they say they get they petition to get the court transcripts, and then the things are destroyed, or like they destroyed them in something called the Sunshine Law, which was a data preservation thing. From what I can gather, I don't know the specifics, but like they were to digitize a bunch of these records, and in the process lost the copy of it or something. From what I can gather, I'm like, my lawyer tells me, well, we can't find copies of the transcripts. I'm like, you mean to tell me that you cannot find a court transcript? He said, yeah, well, they were trying to digitize a bunch of shit at some point in time, and then they lost the original, then forgot to digitize it. I'm like, that's super convenient. Now, unless we can find it at some point in time, but from what I can gather, the lawyers that I have paid to find answers to this shit have told me that they can't get the goddamn transcripts where the judge said what he said, right? So I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah, so I'm not to say like I'm giving up, but like I'm limited right now in what I can do about it, obviously. And some things have made it more difficult, but anyway, I get around to it eventually. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, I imagine that whatever, and then I end up finding, um, well, later in life, you know what I mean? People that ran, like, I just don't know. I just don't think it's coincidence, really. I really don't. And I know, like, some of these things I kind of did to put myself there, like working with John, but I didn't realize how closely, and I didn't even know who Jeffrey Epstein was at the time, right? So I didn't know how closely by association or friends with, if at all, Jeffrey Epstein that John was. I had no clue. But it was weird to see all this shit. I'm like, really? I'm like, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I'm like, it's not a coincidence that these people are only ever 1 degree disconnected from me. You know what I mean? It seems like, right? I'm like, I've never met Jeffrey Epstein, never talked to him. I didn't even know who he was until he was dead, right? But the thing is that it doesn't surprise me that they're always just like one door over from me for some reason, and I'm like, I don't think that's a coincidence, right? So yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence. Obviously, I don't know how, or I don't know why, but I always felt like somebody was up to no good, and they were, I don't know, man, sharpening their daggers for me. It seemed like. Is what it sure shit what it felt like, man. I mean, getting thrown into the goddamn cage with those people at that age, man, is rough. It really is. And the thing is, like, I saw a thing the other day where some guy tried to light a lady on fire on the subway who got less time in prison than I did. And I'm like, attempted murder, trying to light somebody on fire. You're like, you go away for good for that kind of shit. That should be the death penalty. You know what I mean? You try to light somebody on fire on a subway. Luckily, the person lived, but I'm like, that person got the same prison sentence that I did. You don't think that's like retarded? So when I say that they try to make things out to be way worse than they are to justify the unnecessary amount of force they want to show the public, like, and this is what'll happen to you if you do anything about it too, like, that's exactly what they're doing, guy. Um, and you have a very closed-minded group of the public that says, like, is basically licking the goddamn government's boot about it to say that anyone that has anything like this on their record is also just as much a part of the problem as the problem. I'm like, if you don't, like, okay, then you can fucking sit there, you can be the guy, you're basically working for Jeffrey Epstein at that point in time, if you have that mentality, whether or not you know it. But your own ignorance and blind stupidity is the reason why these people get away with doing this shit, because you don't mind them dragging off kids out of their fucking garage in their underwear about doing this shit. I'm like, if there's nothing more satanic than that, if there's nothing more Jeffrey Epstein-esque than that, right? Like, I don't know what is. And you mean to tell me because you got a badge, you went to community college or whatever, or went through the academy, that somehow I voted to give you that authority over me? Fuck you. No, I didn't. Nobody did, and you know that. Which is why you do the shit in secrecy, and you hush everybody up, and make it all cloak and daggers about shit. Yeah, I get sick of it too, man. Like, that is what they did. That is what they do, and they're doing it all over the country to people. Yeah, no, I'm upset about it, obviously, right? Because they did it to me. I'd be upset if they did it to you, but I wouldn't know about it if they did it to you, because no one knows that they did it to me, because I have yet to have my soapbox about it. But I tell you, I lived one county over from where they framed a 17-year-old kid for murder outright. A group of fat pigs that knew better framed an innocent young man at 17 years old for murder that they knew he didn't commit, in the name of, like, just basically shoeing up loose ends, and also like padding their crime statistics, you know. And they had found somebody, had that person bear false witness, use their past against them, told them that they were going to send him to prison if he didn't confess to bear false witness. They told him to, right? And this is all documented. The kid got a $40 million lawsuit from the state of Missouri for it. And this is the type of shit that they do. It was the guy, God, I can't remember his name now, but he was 17 years old. They framed him for murder. He went to Mizzou. It was a murder that took place at Mizzou State University or whatever. Yeah, I can't remember. I know his last name's Ferguson. That's right. And that's like the county over from where I lived when they did all this shit to me. And I sat there and cheered that guy on when he got released from prison, because I was in prison. You know, a different prison camp, but the same state and everything. And they're like, you people are gonna sit there and say that this shit's acceptable. Okay, wait till they do it to one of your sons or daughters, right? Come on now. There's nothing worse, and I can tell you, before all this shit happened, the local cops would like, I would, and I'm not kidding you. Where I lived, where these people run around and have their like actual like pedophile circles and stuff, business owners and stuff, they had a rigmarole set up to where if they were to pay off like one of the judges or whatever, they could just do whatever they wanted. On numerous occasions, I found cops in my backyard looking in through my windows, saying that they were trying to chase a perp from a gas station like a mile and a half away. On more than one occasion, looking like like in my backyard without a warrant, looking in through my windows, to the point where I had to start wearing clothes all the time in my own bedroom and stuff. And I'm not fucking kidding, dude. This is how they are. Like, there's record of this shit somewhere. There's got to be. And my dad ended up catching him in the backyard one of these times, and they said, "Well, we had a suspect at the gas station or whatever." And my dad knows the guy that owns the gas station. Asked him the next day. He said it didn't happen. And like, this is the type of shit that they were doing. Like, not even what, a year later, less than a year later, they were fucking kicking my door down. Try to rub it in your face, like what they're going to do, what they did, what they're doing. You can't stop these people, right? Obviously, so they think. Right. But yeah, so I've like, wherever this is coming from, and I don't know where it is, who specifically or what. I'm like, it's coming from somewhere, and it's all part of the same thing. I know it, you know, and like I've got my answers about it now, but at the time I didn't. I just suspected it, and then so I sought out answers like where I figured there would be the guys that had gone through this previously with potentially the same group of people, if not the same group of people, the same people motivated by the same things at some point in time, right? So I was going to try and get to the bottom of it and find answers, because I'm like, I do not know why they are doing this to me. I cannot come up with a reason, and I'm usually like a real level-headed kind of logical thinker, and I'm like, I could not understand. I couldn't make sense of it. I'm like, there's got to be more to it. There's got to be, and it turns out there was. Anyway, I cut an onion earlier. Cut two onions. My sinuses have been all like stopped up since. He also investigated Watergate and the Clintons probably more than anybody. I've had people try to kill me because of it and everything, dude. Shit's not fun. Like, actually try to fucking murder me, you know? At least plot and plan to, and I gave them a reason not to at some point in time, is why they didn't do it. Oh my god, dude, I've been grinding all day. Seems like, god damn it. Shit, this leveling shit is fucking serious. Quest and zones, raids, dungeons. I can't do stockades or something? So, the reason why I get so, like, where it becomes difficult for me to understand, because there's still so few answers, but the thing is like, but it is true to say that, like, what like a larger thing of corruption, like a reflection, like almost like a hologram or like a fractal, you know what I mean? Like a chunk of it represents the whole, like one, like DNA kind of works the same way too. You're like, well, if an entire system is corrupt, then like no official order has to be given for people to do that kind of thing. You know what I mean? They're like, these are just kind of our marching orders, or like we just picked up on these things as time went on, and this is just how we operate now, right? So I'm like, this wasn't like I, I don't know, maybe actually, now I think about, like, not that like specifically pissed off Hillary Clinton or anything at some point in time, but my, and I'm assuming, I don't know, man, I really don't know. I just think that in all honesty, the type of person that I am probably posed more of a threat to a system like that than not, right? Like I made myself interesting, and I maybe shouldn't have, or I'm glad I did, but um, I made myself relatively interesting. You know what I mean? For better or worse. Like I said, putting people out there on Front Street and stuff, or acting some sort of way to people at school and everything else when I was younger, and a couple other things as I was getting into computer hacking and stuff in my teenage years and all that. But yeah, so I don't know if this is one of those things where I don't want to sit there and cry about a goddamn conspiracy, but it sure as shit feels like one. But then again, if the entire system is corrupt like that, then it doesn't necessarily have to be any direct conspiracy for these type of people to want to try and ruin your life, right? Like before it gets to that point, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Yeah, no, a system of evil, like with these people in control of it, gets off on just destroying people like me, at least trying to, you know, like those are their words, not mine, right? So I've dealt with a fair number of these individuals, unfortunately, but whatever. They'll all find out eventually. But right now, though, we're trying to get to the bottom of some of this shit still. But you can't say like my track record is no. I have fucking. I know there are a lot of people that say these things and then don't do these things. I'm like, no, my track record is like even if it almost kills me, you know what I mean? I have to find out. I have to get the fucking answer. But I do believe there are people, and I was kind of that way about John because I thought like there's got to be more to whatever the accusations are. There's got to be more to this than just what the government or the media or like some one of those instances where I'm like, well, maybe someone similar to myself that's just not necessarily understood, or uh, the public maintains a negative opinion about the guy but seems to be infatuated with, right? Uh, I'm like, yeah. So if there's someone else out there like me, you know what I mean? And some people might say, well, isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that guy like super famous and like invented all this, computer software and all? I'm like, okay, I guess we aren't like each other then, you know? I guess I shouldn't try to find answers to shit. I guess I shouldn't seek knowledge. It's the only thing I fucking care about, right? Come to find out, I'm like, well, I mean, at some point in time in his life, he probably wasn't that interesting either, you know? It's the Ricky, not Ricky, the Rick and Morty dichotomy or whatever, right? I think I used the word correct that time. Um, the whatever, you know what I mean? I'm like, at some point in time, he was probably just some no-name guy sitting there at a cubicle coding whatever for Xerox or whatever it was. And like, and all these people say all these really negative, terrible things about him. Come to find out, the things that they said were often not true, but the truth was actually far worse. You know, kind of strange, at least from what I could gather. No, leave me alone. Reset. Go away. Lots of linen cloth. These Gore-Tusklers, dude, take fucking forever to drop. Come on, one more kill and I fucking level. I'm level 12, 11. Ding dong. Ding dong. Improved wand. Ahoy. Oh. Come on, Gore-Tusk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, right, sure, yeah, right. Sorry to hear about your missing cat, mister. Dealing with Officer Barbrady. Oh shit, it's Gore-Tusk. He's level 15 now. These aren't mini bosses. They are called Gore-Tusk. There is a different one though that. Can I kill this thing? 14. I'm level 12. Yeah, so I try to add some more like. I hate to be the type of guy that's like I gotta make notes and try to fucking make something interesting or whatever. just like when things come to mind, I'll explain them further. Just I don't necessarily prepare to sit here and talk about things, but when they come to mind, yeah, the CIA, they do exist. They are a real entity, despite where like people have you believe that the CIA doesn't exist. Right. At least they try to make it seem that way. Not that I'm a part of it or anything, but I've ran into some of the people that are, and I'm always like, I think that's kind of how they are, though. From what I can gather, is like, rarely does the CIA people, not myself, but people that either are associated with but aren't don't work for, like, from what I can gather, is like it's rarely are they able to send you a check in the mail. You know what I mean? Like unless you have like a pencil pusher job at like the main office or whatever. The idea that like for clandestine operations and shit, like from what I can gather, like the real bread and butter what the CIA does is done mostly by people that have like set up shell corporations, and they'll help them set up like a seemingly legitimate business front to operate under. And not to say they have to funnel money through, but I guess sometimes that is the case. You know what I mean? If you look at what that it's a movie, but this is one of the guys that was also connected to Stu Webb in some way, shape, or form. He was one of the guys he investigated, I believe, was um, the guy that Tom Cruise played in that movie. If you've ever seen it, they explain kind of how it's all done in that movie. Um, what is it now? He played American Made 2017. Barry Seal, that's right. Yep. And you see, like that's kind of like that explains. And this is the thing is, I can't say for sure, but it makes sense, right? I can't imagine this part was made up, but this is how I assumed it was done before, and then I saw that movie, and then seeing the movie, that is how it's done, kind of. Come on now. Oh no. Come on now. No. Jerry, no. Fuck. No, Jerry, no. I guess I'm gonna make a bowl of cereal. I'll be right back. got a bowl of cereal. Where'd the other guy go? I pulled this earlier, and I'm like, I don't see anything else. Come on now. The fuck? Oh my god, dude. Did I not just look around everywhere to see? And come on now. Really? I looked in every goddamn direction. I am so terrible at leveling. God damn it. Are you fucking serious? Wait, are you serious right now? Wait, are you serious? We've killed like 100 of these things now. We're only halfway there. Really. God damn it. I'm gonna log if I die again. Go do something else. I sold all my healing potions on accident. Fuck it. Call him Pykel. Oh my. Wish my nose would fucking quit being all stopped up. I'm trying. Yachts. Need to shave. I haven't showered yet today, so I didn't have a chance to shave yet. off my game. Come on now. No, we got fucking minis everywhere. We have minis. And that didn't hit that guy. God damn it. Well, water elemental, give away my goddamn hiding spot, would you please? Would you please go somewhere else for a second? God damn it. Whatever. Yeah, go check out Stu Webb, man. Like, look at some of his stuff. What he says, like, his wife, I guess, at some point in time, ended up being like, I can't remember the exact story, but ended up like something about the Clintons and stuff. If you just, I wish I could remember specifically what it was before I put my foot in my mouth or whatever. But he had been burned by those the Clintons specifically, right? Like some custody battle over his daughter regarding like his wife working for the Clintons or something at some point in time, I believe, and then them pressuring her to divorce him and take custody of his daughter and all that stuff. And his wife, I believe, had suffered from some sort of mental illness or had been in one of the either, if not directly, indirectly through one of the MK Ultra programs. I'm pretty sure. I know this all sounds far fetched, but go read what the guy says. You know what I mean? Tell me what you think. There's more to it than just somebody having an opinion on the internet. Obviously, like he's got mountains and mountains and mountains of articles, evidence, proof. He's one of the people that exposed Ted Gunderson, which was the FBI agent that these people put forward that was going around trying to like stop these human sacrifice, child sacrifice, human trafficking rings and stuff for a while. But he was the one perpetrating most of it. Also, he was the one covering up for the guys and making it look like, you know. And if you don't think that they aren't that Machiavellian, come on now. Like, really, this is all these people care about. This is their God, you know. So to think for a second that they wouldn't do this kind of thing, don't be retarded, please. I'm practically the one. I practically beg you not to be that retarded, right? I don't beg, but when it comes to that, please don't be retarded. Yes, they would do that in a heartbeat. Yes, they would. Any of this stuff, right? So don't think for a second that they don't exist and all that stuff. Don't. And even if you can't find a perfect example of the thing that you're looking for, you know, no. One person has all of the just, you know, type of evidence and everything that like that you would think qualifies for like a regular court case or whatever, doesn't mean there's not truth to it. Because these people are pretty secretive, right? And they're rich and powerful, as we've seen, and very far between does any of them ever get in trouble for anything. And it would have you stand to reason. It's something like the Jeffrey Epstein thing. It's like how are so many people aware of what this guy did, but ignorant of it at the same time, right? And like, you mean to tell me there were people coming and going to the island, and yet the American people have yet to even hear like one of their testimonies as to what went on there? They keep putting forward these people that knew the guy but had nothing to do with what went on the island. It's like, what are they covering up? Well, it's fucking obvious, right? The thing is like the one thing that the American people don't like having their time wasted with and don't fucking care about is extramarital affairs among consenting adults. Like that isn't what any of this is about, and they know that. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows that, so don't be a fool. That's tabloid. That's stuff for the tabloids. The American people could give a shit less. Burk. But that's the reason why. Now here's the thing. How can I not relate to the man? How can I not relate to the man, right? Like what they're doing to Bill Gates is essentially what they did to me when I was younger. You know what I mean? They try to put forward this thing that we aren't concerned about that, but they're trying to push a narrative. They're trying to. Do you get what I'm saying? Like how do you not how do you not relate to that kind of thing? You know, like the American people could give a shit less about this. An extramarital affair among consenting adults, right? That's not on their list of priorities. They could give a shit less, right? That's like normally things you would reserve for Sun magazine or the tabloids or whatever. Has nothing to do with. We want to know how are there like pictures of people coming and going from this place, chartered planes, boats, this, that, and the other thing, and not one person that can give anybody's name or attest to the what happened there. You can't put those people forward. Why? It's very suspicious. You know what I mean? So instead, they take a person that the public already views in a negative light for whatever reason or one reason or another. You know, paint him as a villain one day, then the next day do this shit to him, right? Like, and there are a group of people that are sitting there saying that they're doing everything that they can do to help keep the kids safe, right? And they have bought in the lie that somehow them putting forward someone like Bill Gates and making it look like he somehow had something to do with any of the shit that was going on the island. I don't know one way or another, but the point is that they're making out this extramarital affair among consenting adults to be the thing that people are concerned about. We aren't concerned about that. Move on, please. We want the truth, not this three ring circus they've put forward, right? Like, and the reason why is because there's a group of like these QAnon people that all, and you've seen the guy yelling at Bill Gates when he was testifying the other day and all that stuff, calling him a Satanist and everything else. Um, the thing is that there's a group of like QAnon truthers that will sit and that like and they won't actually sink their teeth into the real issue at hand here because they saw this person that they don't like get publicly shamed. You know what I mean? That's all they wanted. They wanted to see in their mind their arch villain, bad guy, get yelled at, or you know what I mean. Uh, they aren't about trying to actually keep the kids safe because they're so blind as to let the media tell them that what this is about is, you know, is like, well, really, then it's not about keeping the kids safe. It's about watching somebody you don't like take a stumble, right? And for better or worse, whether or not you do or do not like them, we aren't concerned about an extramarital affair among consenting adults, period. We just aren't. Nobody is. You know what I mean? So there's a reason why they're like a sacrificial lamb. They put forward someone that the public already doesn't like. The public already makes these accusations, says all these wild things about. I'm sure some are true and most aren't. You know, and I mean we all are humans, right? And then that'll like quiet the QAnon truthers, right? That really are just there to fucking LARP. Could give a shit less, man. They don't really care. They're all about yelling about it and not doing shit about it, right? Because even if you don't, because the reason why is like, even if you don't like Bill Gates and you're part of this actually keep the kids safe movement, right? Then you should be saying, we don't care. As much as I don't like Bill Gates, as much as I don't like the guy, I want the answers to what we're actually concerned about. Now, unless you say that he's part of it or not, but regardless, what you are trying to make the primary issue here is not what we're concerned about, period, right? But for every, and this is in here, and this is like totally unrelated, but similar, like Michael Saylor, right? So unrelated, but similar thing. Like they're putting forward somebody that they don't like that they think will suffice public concern if there is any. Like if we could just liquidate Michael Saylor, then we could all get to work in crypto or whatever. It's not that I know it's totally different, but it's not that far off from in the sense that are you willing to sacrifice them destroying somebody in the name of making yourself wealthier or more powerful or whatever? And like, there are a group of people that do that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily the same thing exactly, but um, they're doing it to a bunch of people, basically, for whatever reason. And it certainly isn't to talk about the issue at hand, especially with cryptocurrency, is the fact that the banks print all the money that they want. They can purchase every Bitcoin that's available any day of the week if they want to, you know, and it isn't about the banks getting rich off of an asset. It's about the banks having more control by destroying the people that we rally around, you know, or should rally around, kind of thing. Because trust me, they can print as much money as they want to, and for those who can't be paid off, they have to destroy pretty much. Is kind of how that thing works usually. I know it's not the same exact category or it's a different subject, but that is kind of how they do it. I guess I'm gonna log for a little while.